Lesson 10-1 and 10-3, adding and subtracting fractions. So we're actually going to be combining these two lessons because we're looking at two different ways of adding and subtracting. The first way is with like denominators. So what that means is when you have a fraction and the number on the bottom is the same. So for example, if we had 1/8 plus 3/8, they have like denominators because the denominator, or the number in the bottom, is the same. We're also going to look at some examples of unlike denominators. So for example, if we had 2/3 plus 6/9. With this, you have two numbers in the bottom that are not the same, and so we're going to look at how we can add or subtract them. So let's first look at the examples of like denominators. That means that the numbers in the bottom are the same. So if we had an example of 1/6 plus 3/6, if the denominator is the same, you keep the denominator and add the top like normal. So 1 plus 3 would be 4. Now in the previous chapter we learned how to simplify fractions. At this point you should not ever have a fraction that is not in its simplest form. So once you have your answer of 4/6, you would need to simplify that down to 2/3 as your final answer. Pause the video to try a few examples. For the first example, we have 1/11 plus 8/11. So the denominators are the same, so your answer would be 11 in the denominator, and then you add the top. 8 plus 1 is 9. For the second example, you have the same denominators, so that's what you make your answer, and then you add the top and get 3 plus 4, which is 7. Now we are able to simplify 7/14 down to 1/2 because 7 goes into both numbers. So our final answer in simplified form would be 1/2. Let's take a look at how we add or subtract unlike denominators in fractions. So if we have an example of 1/4 minus 1/8, you can see that the denominators are not the same. So we want to get them the same. To do that, sometimes you only do something to one number and try to make it become the other number, which you could add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Or sometimes we need to do something to both numbers. So you're either going to multiply or divide, and then whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. And we reviewed this in the previous chapter, so if you need some review on similar fractions, this is what you'll need to look at. So in this example, we're actually going to turn the 1/4 into a fraction with a denominator of 8. So we're going to leave the 1/8 the same. So you have to ask yourself, what do I do to 4 to get 8? Well, we multiply it by 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and so the top would be 2. So now that they are like fractions, you can subtract like normal. The denominator stays the 8, and then you say 2 minus 1 is 1. So your final answer is 1/8. Pause the video to try a few examples on your own. For the first example, you have 2/3 plus 1/6. You want to find a common denominator, so our common denominator here could actually become the 6. So we're going to turn our first fraction into a number with a 6 in the denominator, and we're going to leave the 1/6 the same. So now you have to ask yourself, what do I do to 3 to get 6? And you know that you multiply by 2, so you're actually going to multiply the numerator by 2 and get 4. Then you can just add straight across, leaving your 6 as your denominator, so 4 plus 1 is 5. For the next example, we have 3/4 minus 1/12. You have to find a common denominator, so we're going to change the first 4 to a 12 and leave the 1/12. We have to ask ourselves, what did you do to 4 to get 12? And you multiplied it by 3. So we're going to multiply the top by 3 and get 9. Now you have 9 minus 1 equals 8. So we would have 8/12 for our answer. But we know that we're able to simplify this because 2 can go into both numbers. So we take 2 into the 8 and we get 4. And you can take 2 into the 12 and get 6. This is still not simplified. We can take another number into both of these, 2 again. So 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So your final answer for this one would be 2/3. Pause the video to complete the lesson review. Make sure you show me this lesson review for verification of watching this video.